All right, guys. In that last video, I just did upload it, just edited it and uploaded it. I stopped. Right now, we're going to pick up. I'm going to pop this headlight out. I'm going to show you that. In the last video, I didn't actually show you doing it, show me doing it, but there was a 10 millimeter here and a push clip right there. I took them out. I had to take the whole bumper off just because it wasn't worth fighting it the whole way. Because I have to take out these two 10 millimeter bolts right there, and let me get around here, that one right there. Okay, those are all the bolts that were required to come out to get the bumper off. Mess up, well, most of 99% of that's plastic push clips, but I'm going to put everything in the same cookie jar. For the sake of time, I'm going to use this 1/4 inch impact to take this off. Got good. Pop them out. This headlight should come out. I'm going to unhook it. There we go. There we go. One headlight. We'll set this in a safe spot. All right. Now with the headlight out, I have full access to the back of that fender. So we're going to figure out the best way to knock this dent out of here. All right. I got a 36 grit grinding disc on my little baby grinder, die grinder. I call it a baby grinder. You all know that. I could get to the back of this with a hammer pretty good, but I'm going to show you what's going to happen. I'm going to use the stud gun or the draw pin weld or whatever you want to call it, because I'm going to show you what happens to the back of one of these panels when you use this thing. This thing's, you know, in the book it says this is used for making a one-sided repair, meaning you could only get to one side of it, you couldn't get to the back. And that's true, but I'm going to use it here so you can see what happens to the back of the panel, and it's important to know. Sometimes I will only grind enough of this area so that I can make good contact with this, but in this case I'm going to grind the whole area just so I keep this video short and I don't have to keep stopping and starting. So I'm going to grind all this paint off from around here. Okay, got that all ground. I'm going to put the nail in the end of there. Now, if you guys can see that this body line takes a turn and it goes on down here, depending on which class you're in, we've talked about, you know, body work and doing body work around body lines. We're going to start on the body line. The bulk of the damage is going to come out, because that's kind of the strong spot, will come out when I pull that body line out. I don't want to pull over in here. If there wasn't body line here, I would start on the outside and work my way in. But since there's a body line right there, we're going to start on that. So I'm going to put a series of nails right along that body line. And I'm probably going to start right in the lowest point. I'm going to weld that. You saw that smoke come from the backside. I'm going to show you what's taking place in there in a minute. Tell you what, I think I might put 2 more on there before I do any pulling. Notice that little whiff of smoke? Okay, now I think I'm gonna start right down here on the bottom. Part of me wants to start right in the middle, but if it doesn't pull all the way out, it may over pull it. So I'm gonna start towards the outside. Now, this fender isn't very strong. You can see I can pull the whole thing. It's only got a bolt in it down here and a bolt up here, and the rest of this will move. So I'm pulling pressure out on this with this T-handle, and I got pretty good pressure. I'm not killing it, but you can see the fender moving a little bit. Now I'm gonna quick snap like that. Now it did pull that out. We may have to push that back some. Okay, then we're gonna loosen this up. I'm gonna move up to this one. Tighten it up. Now, yes, I know, and you guys could probably watch it happen on tape. It's pulled this out of shape, but we'll worry about that in a minute. Okay, before I put any more studs or nails anywhere else, I'm going to get these out of the way. I take a pair of cutters, diagonals, wire cutters, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to go in as close to the base of that as I can, and I'm not trying to cut it off. I'm using these kind of like a pair of pliers, and I'm trying to wiggle it. Hopefully, yes, there we go, worked perfect. Because you can see the end of this thing, you know, it's like the head of a nail. I'm using this to grab it and twist it. If I have to cut it off, I will. But I try and do that. Most of the time, it doesn't leave a hole in the fender. Part of the key to that is not holding the finger on the trigger on that stud gun too long. There, that's good. There we go. Okay, now I've pulled that body line out about as much as I want to right now, but now I'm going to work on this low area. I don't know if it's really showing up there, but it's low here and it's low here. The body line's still a little bit low, so I'm probably gonna put 2. I know it's kind of hard to wrap your head around what I'm doing. If you're right here, you could see it better. But now I'm going to start on the outside of the dent. When I say the outside, or on the outskirts of it. Now, I'm going to take a body hammer. I'm holding just a little bit of pressure, and there's an eyebrow around the edge of this thing. While I'm holding pressure, I'm going to tap on that, and that bounce and that vibration is going to make that dent jump out, move out, and it'll help tighten up the or rearrange the little molecules in the metal. And that is true. That's not a bunch of crap. It's more important on the thicker stuff, but it works on this too. The main advantage of this is this thing's all flimsy, and when I hold pressure and tap, it bounces it back into shape. And it's really coming out good. Now you guys can't see what I can see, but it's good up top. Down the bottom is still low. I'm going to put another one right there. And I'm going fast here. Keep it as short as possible. But I want to show you how this is. I talked to you guys in the Zoom earlier, in the Zoom meeting, that I wanted to show you how I, as a body man, if this was in a regular body shop setting, which this is a regular body shop, how I would do it if I was not teaching you a lesson, but just trying to make money fixing this dent. I would probably say that if this thing had an estimate written on it, that would have probably been about a 4 or 5 hour dent to repair. What that means to you is you're going to get 4 or 5 hours, whichever it had on there, to fix that dent. It doesn't matter if it takes you 10 hours. You're only going to get that 5 hours. So it pays you to get this done quickly. And you got to do a good job so that people keep bringing stuff to you to get you to fix it. So now I'm going to cut the rest of these nails off and we'll take a look at it. All right. Remember me telling you to look at those whiffs of smoke? That's what it's doing. It's burning the paint off the inside of this fender. That is where I had those studs on there. So in this case, I can get behind here and I'll be able to undercoat that when I'm done. But if you were to do that on the inside of a rocker panel or somewhere where you couldn't get to the inside of it, it could lead to some corrosion. So you got to remember that. Not to mention, if that thing had something flammable in there, like insulation or interior pieces, you could easily catch something on fire. All right, now what I'm going to do is, before I start to rough this out anymore, I'm going to try this headlight in here. Remember me pulling this out and I said it probably pulled it out of shape? See these two lineup pins right here? They go in these two holes. What we're going to do is we're going to line them up. We're going to line these bolt holes up at the top. That's where this fender, that's where this headlight's supposed to be, right there. And as if you look, see that great big gap in there? That's where we pulled this out. So as I straighten this with a hammer and dolly, I'm going to make sure I knock this in. So that's what I'm going to work on next. All right. Got the basic body hammer here. This is called a universal dolly. It's going to work good right here. This is still a little bit low right here. I'm going to try and get it out some. And this, remember the gap I just showed you, is a little big right here. So I'm going to try and work this dolly back here, because this is low. I'm going to try and work this dolly back here where it's low, and it's called a dolly off technique. I'm actually going to hit up here, and I'm going to hit it that way. That's going to take care of the gap, we hope, and it's going to bounce. As I hit, it's going to bounce this, and this is going to work like a hammer, and hopefully knock this low spot out here, or help knock it out. So here we go. I'm going to push out on it. I got not a lot of pressure, but some pressure, and I'm not hitting the dolly. I'm hitting dolly off. I'm away from the dolly. If I was hitting on the dolly, it would be a ting ting sound, but I'm hitting around it. Okay. Now what we're going to do is, that feels pretty good. I'm going to stick the headlight back in there before I get too carried away and see what we got. Well, as you can see, put that right there, that's where that goes. It is definitely better than it was. It needs to come ahead some more. I think it just basically needs to come ahead some more. And this is a little bit low. Okay, when I said it had to come ahead some more, you see that gap? It's pretty big. We're going to walk around to the other side. And as you can see, that's nice and tight and even. So, when I say this thing's got to come ahead, we've got to make this fender come ahead. And how we're going to do that is, this body line right here, this thing has folded up. It's got to come out, and that'll let that go ahead. So what I'm going to have to do is put my dolly behind here. I'll take the headlight out and put pressure out here, coming out this way, and I'm going to tap along this body line, and that's going to flatten this out. And when I mean flatten, see the angle this is on? We need this to come out a little bit, and it'll grow in length as that flattens out. That's what we're going to work on. All right. So that, in order to tighten that gap up that headlight had, this has to come ahead. Now, as many of you might think it's some kind of high-tech way to do it, a lot of body work just comes down to beating and banging and shoving on the stuff, and that's what we're going to do. Because remember when I originally put these nails on this body line, remember how this thing pulled out? We're going to knock it back in there now is what we're going to do. All right. Now we're going to try the headlight back in there and see what we got. Well, if you can see that, we pretty much got her. Just a little bit more. And you see the gaps closed up now. So now I'm going to do a little fine tuning, a hammer and dollying, but that gap should be fine now. All right, guys. This is the second video, and it was me roughing it out and, you know, hammer and dollying, using the stud gun on it. It was getting crazy long. I had part of me mixing body filler and applying that, but it got too long, so I'm stopping it right here. And this give me a second to insert this. When I said that was a 4 or 5 hour dent, that is correct. But what you have to understand is what I'm talking about is just the fixing of the dent. Just what's in this video. Not taking the headlight out, that pays separate. Not taking the bumper off, that pays separate. Not taping it up, nothing. The only thing that they're paying the 4 to 5 hours for is fixing the dent. So pretty much what you're seeing in this video of roughing it out and what you're going to see in the next one of sanding the body filler is what you're gonna get the 4 and 5 hours for. That may be misleading because they'll probably give you 2.5 to 3 hours just to take the bumper off. So I just wanted to include that in there. Hope you're enjoying it and learning something.